Now, one of the visitors who was arrested, this guy by the name of David Carter Hearn, 67-year-old man of Bethesda, Maryland, who owned a company that made composite used to build watercraft. Now, Hearn happens to be a former Olympic canoe racer. There he is. Look at him go. That was a while ago. And he told the AP he briefly touched a peeling chunk of the pool bottom to inspect it and let go when told to by a park worker. This is something that we've seen lots of people do. Hearn said he was detained by guard soldiers and park police for 5 hours before being given a summons for a court appearance next month. I'm a curious citizen, Hearn told the AP. I reached down to see what it felt like. It was very rubbery. Remember, this is also part of the recipe here. Just last week, okay, again, we know this because they posted it online. It was Trump's Interior Department, as we were covering this, the algae blue, right, and the peeling chunks of paint. The Interior Department was lying to us all, right? Like, what are you talking about, you psycho libs? Posting photos of the reflecting pool from, like, the low angle to get the reflection of the sky, claiming the water was, quote, crystal clear, with the American flag blue coating shining brightly on the bottom of the pool. Now, the President of the Department of Justice have to admit that's not true. The pool's in worse shape than before. I mean, they pivoted in like a day or two. And then in classic authoritarian fashion, they pivoted from claiming the water's perfect and clear, there's no peeling paint, to yes, it looks terrible because it was sabotaged by secret leftists like this Olympian and that journalist. And also, we are now going to be bringing law enforcement authorities from around the nation as part of our summer surge force to arrest people who are guilty of the non-existent crime of putting their hands in the water. Doesn't matter whether it's an election he contested and lost, or a war he started and lost, or a reflecting pool renovation that he absolutely screwed up from start to finish in every conceivable way. When Donald Trump screws up, as he always does, he needs scapegoats, because Donald Trump is president. What it really means is he now wants arrests. Norman Eisen is the co-founder and executive chair of Democracy Defenders Fund, as well as the attorney for David Hearn, the U.S. Olympian who was arrested at the reflecting pool, and they both joined me now. It's good to have you here, Mr. Hearn. I saw some video of you out this weekend when you were at the reflecting pool. You were in Viking gear. You were clearly out for a long cycling ride. You're a very active individual still. Can you just tell us how you ended up at the reflecting pool, why you went down there?
Yes, Chris. I was just out on about a 50-mile bike ride, and I decided to swing back over by the reflecting pool on my way back as a concerned, curious citizen.
And you checked out the pool. You told the AP that you just put your hand in the water. And then what happened? You had, I've seen, like, National Guardsmen came up to you and then park police. How did that all go down?
As soon as I left the side of the reflecting pool and went back to my bike that was laid down on its side on the edge of the grass, 3 National Guard troops sort of materialized and started talking to me about, after I greeted them, they were talking to me about the park police wanting to talk to me.
And they arrested you? They put some sort of cuffs or zip ties on you behind your back?
I didn't think I'd done anything wrong, so I had no reason to think I was going to be arrested, but I suggested we walk over toward the park police rather than waiting for them to come to us, and went over and furnished my ID, and kind of before I knew it, I was being handcuffed and realized I was being arrested.
Norm, you're his lawyer here. Is there, like, this seems so impossibly insane to me, but they're threatening 10 years in prison, and I'll ask you, Mr. Hearn, about how you feel about the president threatening that. But is there even, like, what, is there a crime here? Is there anything here?
Chris, there was no crime when these accusations were made about the distinguished journalist Jonathan Karl. There's certainly no wrongdoing as to Davey. This is a reflecting pool where people have, for decades, touched the water. How can it be a crime to touch the water of the reflecting pool, Chris? What you see is a desperate effort to cast blame anywhere. other than those responsible. When you paint the bottom of a pool in the height of the summer heat a dark color in a body of water that already is known to have severe algae problems, of course you're going to have more difficulties. When you issue a no-bid contract, Chris, including involving one of the president's Mar-a-Lago cronies, that, of course, is going to lead to poor performance. This coating is coming up of its own volition. Obviously, Mr. Hearn did not dump algae or toxic chemicals or run a 250 or 300-foot knife line down this pool. And it is one of the classic signs of an authoritarian regime to abuse the criminal powers, just like we saw the AG Letitia James case thrown out, just like we saw the Jim Comey case thrown out, so many other cases that have been rejected by judges, by grand juries. It's outrageous. Every American should be concerned about this. It is a sign of authoritarian behavior. As you know, we have over 300 legal cases and matters. This one is among the most important because we can't let the criminal justice system be abused this way. That's why we fight these cases.
Mr. Hearn, am I right that you were detained for 5 hours after this arrest?
Yes, I was in the lockup at Haynes Point Park Police Jail, and I didn't know how long I was going to be held. I was held. After an hour, I was told that it was going to be a cite and release, so that led me to believe that I might not be there that long. But then it dragged on. I was photographed, and they put me back in, fingerprinted, put me back in, and I had not been allowed to make a phone call. Nobody really knew I was there. I was held incommunicado that whole time. Was never read my rights.
What? Well, did they tell? Are you charged yet? Have they even furnished the charges?
We do have 2 misdemeanor citations, Chris, but there's no basis for this. We're going to contest it vigorously.
Well,
It's not a federal crime to touch water. If you look in the statutes, you'll see there's no such federal crime.
As someone who represented this country in the U.S. Olympics, we got to show that clip of you, which was incredibly cool. One of my favorite events to watch, actually. It seems completely impossible and defies the laws of physics. It's so surreal, but how does it feel to have the president and then the U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia essentially, threatening to throw the book and talking about 10 years in prison?
Well, Chris, I'm concerned for our country. I'm cautious about the future, but I'm confident in my counsel, and we will contest these charges.
All right. Norm, you have filed ethics complaints against Todd Blanche. You're litigating a bunch of sort of active lawsuits against this Department of Justice. It seems to me that it's gotten worse there somehow, and almost improbably. Is that the trajectory it seems to you as well?
Well, Davy's case is a new low. They've hit bottom again here, and the courts are pushing back, Chris. As you know, we won the Kennedy Center case. We helped defeat the slush fund, the $1.8 billion, and we're going to fight this case as well. We can't have the Department of Justice bullying American citizens for touching water. That cannot be a crime.
Yeah.
So this is a very important matter because it's an effort to shift the blame and scapegoat for the consequences of the administration's corruption. We're going to be contesting it vigorously.
Well, I would just say to the folks that are tourists or residents of D.C. down there, based on what I've seen from reporters, our own, and social media, the block is hot down there. They got surveillance vehicles. There might be plainclothes officers waiting to snatch you up if you put your hand in the water. So just, Be forewarned, this is the state that we find ourselves in. David Hearn, Norm Eisen, thank you both. Appreciate it.